Some English words are commonly misused, leading to confusion or misunderstandings. Today, we're sharing 100 English words you're probably using wrong so you can speak and write more accurately. Let's get started. Literally. Meaning, literally means something is true in the exact, literal sense. Let's use it in a sentence. I was literally dying of laughter. The misconception. People often use it for emphasis, even when nothing literal is happening. It should only be used when describing something that actually occurred. Ironic. Meaning, ironic describes a situation that is the opposite of what you expect. Let's use it in a sentence. It's ironic that the lifeguard needs swimming lessons. The misconception. Many think it simply means something funny or coincidental, but true irony involves an unexpected twist that contrasts with the norm. Decimate. Meaning, historically, decimate means to destroy 1/10 of something. Let's use it in a sentence. In ancient Rome, decimation was used to punish soldiers by executing 1/10 of the group. The misconception. It's often used to mean total destruction, but its original meaning is more specific. Though modern usage has shifted, the historical context remains interesting. Bemused. Meaning, bemused means confused or puzzled. Let's use it in a sentence. He appeared bemused by the unexpected question during the interview. The misconception. People often think it means amused, but it actually refers to being bewildered or confused. Disinterested. Meaning, disinterested means unbiased or impartial. Let's use it in a sentence. A disinterested referee is essential for a fair game. The misconception. Many assume it means uninterested, but it refers to being neutral without personal stake in the matter. Enormity. Meaning, extreme wickedness or great seriousness, not just something enormous. In a sentence, the enormity of the crime shocked the entire nation. Why it's misunderstood. Many people use it to mean hugeness when it actually refers to something morally wrong or of great importance. Nonplussed. Meaning, confused or unsure, not unbothered or unfazed. In a sentence, he was nonplussed by the unexpected question. Why it's misunderstood. Some assume it means calm due to the way it sounds, but it actually means puzzled or bewildered. Factoid. Meaning, a false or misleading piece of information, not a small fact. In a sentence, the idea that we only use 10% of our brains is a factoid. Why it's misunderstood. Many people use it to refer to a fun fact, when it originally meant something that sounds factual but isn't true. Peruse. Meaning, to read carefully and thoroughly, not to skim through. In a sentence, she perused the contract before signing it. Why it's misunderstood. It's often mistakenly used to mean glance over, when it actually means to read something with great attention. Plethora. Meaning, an excessive or overabundant amount, not just a large amount. In a sentence, the report contained a plethora of unnecessary details. Why it's misunderstood. People use it as a fancy synonym for a lot, but it actually suggests an overabundance, sometimes to the point of excess. Gift. Meaning, in English-speaking countries, gift means a present given to someone. Let's use it in a sentence. I brought a gift for your birthday. Cultural difference. In Germany, gift means poison. Offering a gift without context could lead to confusion or alarm. Bicho. Meaning, in Portugal, bicho is a casual word meaning insect or creature. Let's use it in a sentence. Look at that little bicho in the garden. Cultural difference. In some Latin American countries, bicho is slang for male genitalia, making it inappropriate in casual conversation. Preservative. Meaning, in the US and UK, preservative refers to a substance used to keep food fresh. Let's use it in a sentence. This product contains natural preservatives. Cultural difference. In France, preservative means condom, which can lead to embarrassing misunderstandings in casual discussions about food. Kiss. Meaning, in English, kiss is a gesture of affection. Let's use it in a sentence. Give grandma a kiss before you leave. Cultural difference. In Sweden, kiss, spelled the same, means urine. Using it casually can lead to awkward confusion. Pajero. Meaning, in Spain, pajero refers to someone who works with straw or hay. Let's use it in a sentence. The pajero was busy in the field. Cultural difference. In Latin America, especially in Argentina, pajero is an offensive slang term meaning a lazy or foolish person, or worse, with vulgar connotations. Missed. Meaning, a fine spray of liquid or a light fog. In a sentence, she sprayed a refreshing mist on her face. Why it's problematic. In German, mist means manure or dung, making it an unfortunate name for beauty products or sprays in German-speaking countries. Conker. Meaning, a type of sweet bread in Mexico. In a sentence, I love eating conchas with my morning coffee. Why it's problematic. In Argentina and some Spanish-speaking countries, conker is a vulgar slang term, which could lead to misunderstandings. Nova. Meaning, a type of smoked salmon in English. In a sentence, she ordered a bagel with nova and cream cheese. Why it's problematic. In Portuguese, nova means new, but in some Brazilian slang, it can be used inappropriately to refer to a young woman in a suggestive way. Molestar. Meaning, to disturb or bother someone. In a sentence, I didn't mean to molestar you with my questions. Why it's problematic. In Spanish, molestar simply means to bother, but in English, it sounds like molest, which has a much more serious connotation. Embarrassed. Meaning, feeling self-conscious or ashamed. In a sentence, I felt embarrassed after tripping in front of everyone. Why it's problematic. In Spanish, embarazada sounds similar but actually means pregnant, which could lead to humorous or awkward misunderstandings. Groovy. Meaning, groovy was popular in the 1960s-70s, meaning cool or fashionable. Let's use it in a sentence. That's a groovy outfit you're wearing. Why it sounds outdated. It's strongly associated with past decades. Instead, try saying cool or trendy. Radical. Meaning, in the 1980s-90s, radical was slang for something amazing or extreme. Let's use it in a sentence. That skateboard trick was radical. Why it sounds outdated. It's rarely used today in casual conversations. A modern alternative would be awesome or sick. Dapper. Meaning, dapper means neat, stylish, or well-groomed, especially for men. Let's use it in a sentence. You look quite dapper in that suit. Why it sounds outdated. While still used occasionally, it feels old-fashioned. You could say sharp or sleek instead. Hunky. Meaning, hunky describes an attractive, muscular man. Let's use it in a sentence. That actor is really hunky. Why it sounds outdated. It sounds dated and a bit cheesy. People now say ripped or fit. Cat's pajamas. Meaning, this 1920s slang means something outstanding or excellent. Let's use it in a sentence. That new car is the cat's pajamas. Why it sounds outdated. It's an amusing relic from the past. A modern equivalent would be top-notch or next level. Swell. Meaning, excellent or very good. In a sentence, that was a swell time at the party. Why it sounds outdated. Popular in the early to mid-20th century, swell now feels old-fashioned compared to modern slang like awesome or great. Neato. Meaning, expressing approval or excitement. In a sentence, wow, that new car is neato. Why it sounds outdated. This word peaked in popularity around the 1950s and 60s and has largely disappeared from modern speech. Egghead. Meaning, a highly intellectual or studious person. In a sentence, that guy is such an egghead when it comes to math. Why it sounds outdated. Once commonly used to describe intellectuals in the mid-20th century, it now sounds out of place in casual conversations. Hoopla. Meaning, excitement or fuss about something. In a sentence, there was a lot of hoopla about the new store opening. Why it sounds outdated. While still understandable, it has a vintage feel compared to words like hype or buzz. Whippersnapper. Meaning, a young and inexperienced person, often said in a condescending way. In a sentence, that young whippersnapper thinks he knows everything. Why it sounds outdated. This term was commonly used in the 19th and early 20th centuries but is rarely heard today outside of humorous or exaggerated contexts. Literally. Meaning, used to describe something that actually happened exactly as stated. In a sentence, I was literally dying of laughter. Why it's confusing. Many people use literally for emphasis, even when it's not literal, which contradicts its actual meaning. Eventually. Meaning, refers to something happening after a period of time or delay. In a sentence, she will eventually arrive. Why it's confusing. Non-native speakers often confuse it with soon or quickly, but it actually suggests something happening later, not immediately. Oversight. Meaning, can mean both supervision and an unintentional mistake. In a sentence, the error was due to an oversight. Why it's confusing. It has opposite meanings depending on context, either careful management or a careless mistake. Sanction. Meaning, can mean both to approve of something and to impose a penalty. In a sentence, the government imposed sanctions on the company. Why it's confusing. It's a contronym, a word with contradictory meanings, making it hard to determine if it's positive or negative without context. Table. Meaning, in American English, it means to postpone discussion, while in British English, it means to start discussing something. In a sentence, let's table this topic for the next meeting. Why it's confusing. Depending on the region, it can mean either to delay or to bring up for discussion, which can lead to misunderstandings. Left. Meaning, can mean the opposite of right or departed. In a sentence, turn left at the next street, direction, versus she left the office early, departed. Why it's confusing. The meanings are completely different, making it difficult for learners to determine the correct usage. Rock. Meaning, can mean a stone or to move back and forth. In a sentence, he picked up a rock from the ground, stone, versus she rocked the baby to sleep, moved gently back and forth. Why it's confusing. The word refers to both a solid object and an action, creating confusion. Bolt. Meaning, can mean to run away quickly or a metal fastener. In a sentence, he bolted out the door, ran quickly, versus tighten the bolt on the door, metal fastener. Why it's confusing. The meanings have no connection, making it difficult for learners to associate them. Jam. Meaning, can mean a fruit spread or a difficult situation. In a sentence, she spread strawberry jam on her toast, fruit spread, versus I'm in a traffic jam, a difficult situation. Why it's confusing. The meanings vary greatly, making it challenging for learners to know when to use it correctly. Spring. Meaning, can mean a season or a coil-shaped object. In a sentence, spring is my favorite season, versus the mattress has metal springs inside, coil. Why it's confusing. The word applies to both time and an object, which can make its usage unclear for non-native speakers. Eloquent. Meaning, fluent, persuasive, or expressive in speech or writing. In a sentence, her eloquent speech captivated the entire audience. Why use it? It enhances the way you describe someone's speaking abilities in a sophisticated manner. Ubiquitous. Meaning, present or appearing everywhere. In a sentence, smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. Why use it? It's a strong alternative to saying common or everywhere. Ephemeral. Meaning, lasting for a short time. In a sentence, the beauty of a sunset is ephemeral, fading within minutes. Why use it? It adds depth when describing temporary things instead of just saying short-lived. Meticulous. Meaning, showing great attention to detail, very precise. In a sentence, she was meticulous in organizing the event, ensuring every detail was perfect. Why use it? It replaces simpler words like careful or detailed with a more precise and impactful term. Serendipity. Meaning, the occurrence of happy or beneficial events by chance. In a sentence, finding that charming cafe was pure serendipity. Why use it? It conveys a delightful sense of luck or unexpected joy in a more elegant way. Cogent. Meaning, clear, logical, and convincing. In a sentence, her cogent argument persuaded the entire board. Why it's powerful. It shows that your reasoning is strong and well-structured. Quintessential. Meaning, representing the most perfect or typical example of something. In a sentence, she is the quintessential leader, decisive, fair, and inspiring. Why it's powerful. It enhances descriptions, making them more refined and precise. Voracious. Meaning, having a great appetite or enthusiasm for something. In a sentence, he is a voracious reader, finishing multiple books a week. Why it's powerful. It conveys strong enthusiasm and intensity. Resplendent. Meaning, shining brilliantly, dazzling and impressive. In a sentence, the ballroom was resplendent with golden chandeliers and elegant decor. Why it's powerful. It adds vividness and elegance to descriptions. Ineffable. Meaning, too great or extreme to be expressed in words. In a sentence, the beauty of the sunset over the ocean was ineffable. Why it's powerful. It helps describe deep emotions or experiences that defy explanation. Exceedingly. Meaning, to a great extent, extremely. In a sentence, The task was exceedingly difficult, requiring hours of work. Why use it? It adds sophistication and intensity without relying on very profoundly. Meaning, deeply or intensely. In a sentence, she was profoundly moved by the heartfelt speech. Why use it? It conveys depth and seriousness in a more elegant way. Tremendously. Meaning, to an extreme degree, immensely. In a sentence, he was tremendously excited about his new job. Why use it? It enhances enthusiasm and strong emotions better than very immensely. Meaning, to a great extent, vastly. In a sentence, she was immensely grateful for the support. Why use it? It makes expressions of size, emotion, and impact more vivid. Astoundingly. Meaning, in an amazing or shocking manner. In a sentence, the artwork was astoundingly beautiful. Why use it? It elevates descriptions and adds an element of surprise or awe. Remarkably. Meaning, in an extraordinary or noteworthy manner. In a sentence, she performed remarkably well in the competition. Why it's better? It elevates the intensity of a statement while keeping it sophisticated. Extensively. Meaning, to a great or vast extent. In a sentence, he has traveled extensively across Europe. Why it's better? It adds depth and precision to descriptions of scale or range. Supremely. Meaning, to the highest or utmost degree. In a sentence, she is supremely talented in music. Why it's better? It conveys an absolute or unmatched level of intensity. Overwhelmingly. Meaning, in a way that is overpowering or immense. In a sentence, the support for the new policy was overwhelmingly positive. Why it's better? It emphasizes strong reactions or emotions more effectively than very exceptionally. Meaning, to an unusually high degree. In a sentence, his writing is exceptionally well crafted. Why it's better? It implies a level of excellence beyond the ordinary. Quintessential. Meaning, representing the perfect example of something. In a sentence, Paris is the quintessential city of romance. Why use it? It sounds sophisticated but simply means the best example of juxtapose. Meaning, to place two things side by side for contrast. In a sentence, the artist juxtaposed light and dark colors in the painting. Why use it? It makes you sound artistic and insightful but just means to compare by placing things together. Ubiquitous. Meaning, present everywhere at once. In a sentence, smartphones are ubiquitous in today's society. Why use it? Despite sounding advanced, it's just a fancy way to say everywhere. Benevolent. Meaning, kind and well-meaning. In a sentence, the benevolent teacher always helped struggling students. Why use it? It's a refined way to say kind or generous. Eloquent. Meaning, fluent and persuasive in speech or writing. In a sentence, she gave an eloquent speech at the ceremony. Why use it? It replaces well-spoken with a more elegant word. Magnanimous. Meaning, generous or forgiving, especially towards a rival or someone less powerful. In a sentence, despite their disagreement, she was magnanimous in accepting his apology. Why it's easy to use? It's a great way to describe someone who is kind and gracious, even in tough situations. Perceptive. Meaning, having keen insight or understanding. In a sentence, his perceptive comments helped resolve the issue quickly. Why it's easy to use? It can replace simpler words like observant or insightful in everyday conversations. Cognizant. Meaning, aware or having knowledge of something. In a sentence, she was fully cognizant of the challenges ahead. Why it's easy to use? It can be used in professional and casual discussions when talking about awareness. Inevitable. Meaning, certain to happen, unavoidable. In a sentence, with such high demand, delays were inevitable. Why it's easy to use? It fits naturally into discussions about events or outcomes that cannot be prevented. Debacle. Meaning, a complete failure or disaster. In a sentence, the event turned into a debacle due to poor planning. Why it's easy to use? It's a strong alternative to failure or mess, making your vocabulary more impactful. Peruse. Meaning, to read or examine something carefully and in detail. In a sentence, she perused the contract before signing to ensure everything was correct. Why it's misused? Many think it means to skim through something quickly, but it actually means to read thoroughly. Enormity. Meaning, a great evil or extreme wickedness. In a sentence, the enormity of the crime shocked the entire nation. Why it's misused. It doesn't mean huge, it refers to something morally wrong or extreme. Nonplussed. Meaning, confused or bewildered. In a sentence, she was nonplussed when she saw the unexpected results. Why it's misused. Many think it means unbothered, but it actually means confused or perplexed. Disinterested. Meaning, neutral, impartial, or not having a personal stake in a matter. In a sentence, we need a disinterested judge to ensure fairness. Why it's misused. It means impartial, not uninterested. Momentarily. Meaning, for a brief moment. In a sentence, I was momentarily blinded by the flash. Why it's misused. It means for a brief moment, not soon. Redundant. Meaning, unnecessarily repetitive or superfluous. In a sentence, saying free gift is redundant because a gift is already free. Why it's misused. Many use redundant to mean useless rather than unnecessary repetition. Infer. Meaning, to deduce or conclude something from evidence. In a sentence, from her tone, I inferred that she was upset. Why it's misused. People often confuse infer with imply. The speaker implies something, and the listener infers it. Uninterested. Meaning, lacking interest or concern. In a sentence, he was uninterested in watching the documentary. Why it's misused. Many confuse uninterested with disinterested, which means impartial rather than bored. Entitled. Meaning, believing oneself to deserve special treatment. In a sentence, he felt entitled to a promotion without putting in the effort. Why it's misused. Some mistakenly use entitled when they mean titled, referring to the name of a book or movie. Effect. Meaning, a result or outcome. In a sentence, the new policy had a positive effect on productivity. Why it's misused. Many confuse effect, a noun, with effect, a verb, which means to influence. Nice. Old meaning, foolish or ignorant. Current meaning, pleasant, kind, or agreeable. Why it changed. Over time, nice shifted from an insult to a compliment as language evolved. Awful. Old meaning, full of awe, inspiring wonder or fear. Current meaning, extremely bad or unpleasant. Why it changed. Awful originally described something awe-inspiring but later took on a negative tone. Silly. Old meaning, worthy or blessed. Current meaning, foolish or lacking good sense. Why it changed. The word gradually shifted from meaning innocent and blessed to meaning lacking intelligence. Terrible. Old meaning, inspiring terror or fear. Current meaning, very bad or unpleasant. Why it changed. Terrible once meant something powerful and fear-inducing but later came to mean something undesirable. Manufacture. Old meaning, to make something by hand. Current meaning, to produce something, often in a factory, by machines. Why it changed. With the rise of industrialization, manufacture shifted from handmade goods to mass production. Brave. Meaning, originally meant cowardly or afraid, but now it means showing courage and fearlessness. In a sentence, she was brave enough to speak in front of a large audience. Why it changed. It came from a Latin root meaning bold in a negative way but evolved into a positive trait. Clue. Meaning, originally meant a ball of yarn or thread, but now it means a piece of evidence or information that helps solve a problem. In a sentence, the detective found a crucial clue at the crime scene. Why it changed. It evolved from Greek mythology, where a clue, a thread, helped Theseus escape the labyrinth, leading to its modern meaning of guidance. Hussy. Meaning, originally meant a respectable housewife, but now it refers to a woman with questionable morals. In a sentence, the term hussy was once a compliment, but today it carries a negative connotation. Why it changed. Hussy came from housewife, but over time, it took on a derogatory meaning. Bully. Meaning, originally meant a sweetheart or a fine person, but now it refers to someone who intimidates or mistreats others. In a sentence, back in the 16th century, calling someone a bully was actually a compliment. Why it changed. Over time, the word shifted from meaning admirable person to aggressive tormentor. Egregious. Meaning, originally meant remarkably good or distinguished, but now it means shockingly bad or offensive. In a sentence, his egregious mistake cost the company millions. Why it changed. It originally meant standing out in a positive way, but it gradually took on a negative sense. Café, French. Meaning, a small restaurant serving coffee and light meals. In a sentence, let's meet at the café for a quick coffee. Language connection. Borrowed from French, café retains its original meaning and pronunciation in English. Tsunami, Japanese. Meaning, a large sea wave caused by an underwater earthquake. In a sentence, the coastal town was evacuated due to the approaching tsunami. Language connection. The word tsunami entered English directly from Japanese due to its geographical significance. Guru, Sanskrit. Meaning, a spiritual teacher or an expert in a field. In a sentence, he is a marketing guru with years of experience. Language connection. Originally a term for spiritual mentors in Sanskrit, guru now refers to experts in various fields. Kindergarten, German. Meaning, a preschool educational environment for young children. In a sentence, she just enrolled her child in kindergarten. Language connection. The German term kindergarten, literally children's garden, was adopted into English due to the influence of early childhood education practices from Germany. Safari, Swahili. Meaning, a journey or expedition, especially for wildlife observation. In a sentence, they went on a safari to see lions and elephants in the wild. Language connection. Safari comes from Swahili, where it means journey, and has been widely adopted in English travel terminology. Entrepreneur. Meaning, a person who starts and manages a business, often taking financial risks. In a sentence, she became a successful entrepreneur by launching a tech startup. Origin, French, derived from entreprendre, meaning to undertake. This word was adopted into English to describe business visionaries. Piano. Meaning, a musical instrument with keys that produce sound when struck. In a sentence, he practiced the piano for hours to master the piece. Origin, Italian, shortened from pianoforte, which means soft loud, referring to the instrument's ability to produce both dynamic contrasts. Patio. Meaning, an outdoor space, often in a backyard or courtyard, used for dining or relaxing. In a sentence, we enjoyed our coffee on the patio while watching the sunset. Origin, Spanish, borrowed from Spanish architecture, patio originally referred to an open courtyard inside a house. Mammoth. Meaning, a large, extinct elephant-like mammal, also used to describe something huge. In a sentence, the company undertook a mammoth task of redesigning its entire website. Origin, Russian, taken from the Russian word maimont, this term was first used to describe the remains of the ancient creature found in Siberia. Robot. Meaning, a machine capable of carrying out tasks automatically. In a sentence, scientists are developing robots to assist in household chores. Origin, Czech, from the word robota, meaning forced labor, popularized by Czech playwright Karel Apek in his 1920 play RUR, where robots were mechanical workers. Quick tip: many words in English come from different languages, reflecting the rich history of cultural exchange. Keep learning to expand your vocabulary.